please let us know. We have moved locations, but we still have a phenomenal view, and we are now blocked, so the wind should not cause a problem right now. So please let me know, can you see us, and is the audio, and most importantly, is that wind a problem right now? I mean, it's just kind of been messing up my hair. I just love it when the wind blows through my hair. Okay. All right. We actually have an ad going. Let's skip the ad. Let's see what happens here. All right, so give me some comments. Let me know, can you hear all right, and is the wind a problem for you at the moment, okay? So while we're, before we get started, let me take a moment just to recap. And I hope everyone will come back. I do apologize for that wind. Okay, no wind noise now. That is so awesome. All right. Okay, so like I said, if you had questions in that first live, please take a moment to put all your questions and comments in the chat box right now, and so that we can answer all of your questions. Again, we greatly appreciate all your support and all of your donations. And hey, we quickly, I'm sweating, man. I had to move on. I had to find a spot where the wind wasn't a problem. So we want to answer all your questions. But anyway, real quick as a recap, because I know that the wind was bad. So just a real quick 5-minute recap. You know, Costa Rica is making everybody leave the country. When I say everybody, we're talking about expats who do not have a residency, or they don't have a temporary residency. So,
or they don't have an appointment.
Or they don't have an appointment to start their residency process. So, that's funny. Someone says, what did you say? We only heard 2 words. So I don't know whether that's serious or not. Anyway, so, you know, everyone's having to leave because of Costa Rica is tired of the perpetual tourist. And I can't blame them. If you're going to be here, they don't want you to be a burden to society. They want you to become a resident. Now you're now paying into the health care system, and you now have health insurance, and it's extremely cheap health insurance when you compare it to other countries like the United States. And that health insurance will cover you if you have an open heart surgery, a heart attack, or all kind of things. And of course, you know, right now it's kind of perfect for Costa Rica to kind of force this issue, because with COVID, a lot of people, you know, got sick. It required a lot more healthcare professionals. It required a lot of extra work. And there was these perpetual tourists that wasn't paying into the system and who claim they don't have money. So Costa Rica doesn't want you to be a burden on society. And for most people that's coming here, well, you know, I'm sure you don't want to be a burden. Once you discover that you like Costa Rica, start the residency process. And guess what? We do have some great people inside the forum, and they can begin helping you, and they can set that appointment so that you can get your residency process started. So you can easily join the forum by going to forum.cloudforestchapel.com so that you can join the forum. And there's links inside the description to all of this. And I want to say too, you want to come out here and visit Rudy's place, and there will be a link in the description. I'll post it and I'll update it when I get back. And there'll be a Waze link. So you can click on the Waze link so that you can come back and you can visit Rudy's place. Okay, so let me go through and take a look at a lot of these questions here so that we can give you an idea of what's actually happening. Because remember, Costa Rica wants you to become a resident. And there's several ways to become a resident in Costa Rica. And the most popular are...
the pensionata.
Speak up and sit closer.
Well, I can't move my chair. Okay. The pensionata is probably the most popular.
And the pensionata is for who?
Those people who are on some type of pension and who get some type of retirement check on a regular basis. Like, I guess if you're from the United States, that would be Social Security or veterans benefits. If you're, I'm not familiar with the other countries, but some type of steady
retirement. Yeah.
Yes, some kind of steady income. That's easy to verify.
Yeah. And so, getting that pensionata status where you're just a retired status. Retired status is the easiest one. Obviously, it's the most popular. People come over here. They want to become a resident, and they can do that, okay?
Yeah. And I think the requirement is that you have to have at least $1,000 per month in retirement income
Right.
to qualify.
To qualify, okay. Now, and to pay for the Caja on that one is the lowest, and it's somewhere around 4 to 6% of your declared amount of money of income that comes in. You're now paying, I think, somewhere around 4, 6, maybe 8%, and a lot of it depends on various things. And that's going to be your Caja payment. From what I hear, most people are paying somewhere around, $40 to $80 a month in health insurance. That's pretty cheap health insurance to take care of people that are older and they need medication and they need surgeries and doctors and all of that good stuff, okay? So,
right. And that would be on the social program, the social medical. There are also private hospitals and private doctors, that you can pay.
That's right. And you can go to the private, and even the private doctors are very, very, just not very expensive, I should say.
In comparison.
Okay. In comparison. Now, you got your pensionata, and then you have the other one, which is called rentista, and that's for people like us who we're not retired. Obviously, I'm extremely young. I think I make 22 next month, but we still have to work. So, and because we work, then we have to do one of two things, and I'm still not 100% clear because there's a lot of confusion and mixed communication, but I've talked to several who say that, to qualify for rentista, then you have to deposit $60,000 into a bank, and then you can live off of $2,500 every month. Or if you don't have the $60,000 to deposit, then you can show that you are getting $2,500 every single month, and then that qualifies you. But you don't have to deposit that money until you get approved for that residency status. And then once you get approved, you have to start depositing that money in there. And then after 2 years, they reevaluate. But during that 2 years, you're also paying Caja as well, your medical or your health insurance, okay? And there's many, many other ones. I mean, you can fall in love legitimately, marry a Tico or a Tica, and you can get your residency by marrying someone. You can not be in love and fall into lust and get pregnant, and because you have a child, get a residency. I don't suggest that, but anyway.
That's not the only way. If you are a couple, like let's say we were to have a child, our child would automatically be a citizen of Costa Rica, and it would automatically qualify us to become residents of Costa Rica.
That's right. So I'm trying to have 10 more kids right now. I'm having a little struggle with Rebecca. Anyway, so if you have a child in Costa Rica, let's say that you're like, if Rebecca and I were to actually have a child, we don't have to be married to a Tico or a Tica. We're married, but we have a child in Costa Rica. Hey, that qualifies us to become a legal resident because our child obviously would have dual citizenship. They would be a Costa Rican national, and then they would be a United States citizenship. So that's one way. So there's many kind of little small categories that are not popular, and but some of the most popular is, of course, you're retired, or another very, very popular. So there's really 3 very popular ones. The first most popular is your retirement. The second most popular is the people who are investor category, meaning they buy a property or invest in Costa Rica $200,000. That's the minimum requirement right now. So let's say you buy a house and you had to pay $200,000, okay? Well, if you had to pay $200,000, you are now qualified because you invested that amount of money into Costa Rica, and you can actually start your residency process. Let me make it clear. If you bought a piece of property that was $99,000 and you've been owning it and it's now worth $250,000, that don't count, okay? It does not count at all. You have to have spent in total cash $200,000 for that property, then you can be retired.
And so they do check.
They do check. So a retirement, investor, rentista. And they got several other categories, and we won't go into all of those, but that's to let you know.
Yeah, and not that it does any good right now, but in they're looking at lowering that $200,000 requirement to $150,000. So that'll help some people.
But the government wheels in Costa Rica, like anywhere, move slow, and so don't be holding your breath for that. They are doing things to incentivize and bring more foreigners so it can boost the economy.
And that let you know, that let us know that they really are trying to make things a little easier, or have more people able to become residents, because that's their goal. And it's just it's bureaucracy. It's just a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
So for the government to get things passed.
Okay, and Sherry asked a good question. Is that $200,000 investment per couple or per person? And that is a person. So if I bought a piece of property for $200,000, then Rebecca and my family all qualify for residency. Okay, so I'm glad that was a good question, Sherry. Okay.
Right. So only one person has to make the purchase, but the family is covered underneath your residency.
Yes, if you are indeed married. Now, you know what, Costa Rica has kind of the very similar things as in other countries where they have common law marriages. But you know what? I won't pretend to know that answer. If Rebecca and I were not officially married, would she be covered? I really don't know, because part of that residency process is to actually show your marriage certificate. Okay, so I can't answer that question, but I'm glad you brought that up, Sherry. Okay.
Yeah, as far as I understand, if you're not legally married and you can't present your birth certificate, your marriage certificate, then each individual person has to apply for residency.
Okay, now John asked a great question. He says, okay, knowing what we know now, okay, because they are really striking down and they want people to become a resident, then when we come over, what should we do? Okay, if you come over, John, Costa Rica has no problem. They know you want to come over and you want to check out the country. So when you come over, hey, check out the country. Take 90 days. Take a year. It's okay. Now, you're going to have the hassles of stamping in and out of the country. And if you upset someone, they may not let you, they might not give you 90 days. But if you're polite and you're nice, and you don't give anyone any problems, and you're not breaking any laws, you probably won't have a problem. But as soon as you know that you like it, go ahead and start that residency process, okay? And I would never suggest you start the residency process right away, because unfortunately, a lot of people do come, and after they get here, they're like, I just don't like it. I want to go back. And then you've wasted that money, okay? Now, for us, we love it here. However, I will admit, my personality, it took a lot of adjusting for my personality to stay in the country. Just because I am a high-tech redneck, I want it and I want it now. I want fast internet, and nothing in Costa Rica happens fast unless he gets behind the wheel of a car and then he thinks he's in the Indy 500. That's another story.
Yeah, very true.
Okay, so John, yeah, come over here. Don't worry about coming over here as anything but just a regular tourist, and come over for 90 days and have a great time checking everything out, okay? Let me look at some of these other questions.
Yeah, and if you're coming just to check things out, of course, that's what you should do. You could, if you're pretty certain that you're going to live here, you could start getting your paperwork in order, like, before you even come, getting a certified copy of your birth certificate, certified copy of your marriage certificate. But those will have to be apostilled, and, we have information on that whole process, because there's limits. It got to be within 60 days. So it's not like you can get all that done way in advance. So.
Okay. Now here's a question some have asked, and I meant to cover, but there were so many distractions with the wind. Costa Rica is forcing you to go out the country, and there's several reasons. The number one reason Costa Rica is forcing you to go out the country is because they want to make it difficult so you will become a resident. However, if you refuse to become a resident, then you're going to help them financially, because when you leave the country, if you're going to a place like the United States that requires a COVID test, then you're going to spend about $100 to pay for the COVID test, which is going to help Costa Rica economically because you're going to pay a lab $100 more or less, okay? Then when you go out before you come back, well, now you can't come back until you buy travel insurance. When you buy travel insurance, of course, you know, when you fill out your health pass, they say buy your travel insurance at here, here, here. And it's very expensive if you buy your travel insurance at one of the recommended Costa Rican locations. Costa Rica won't force you to buy your insurance from them, although they know a lot of people don't know any better. And if you buy your insurance, your travel insurance from Costa Rica, it could be as much as $500 for 90 days for one person. However, inside the forum, we have our favorite that we recommend, and you can go inside the forum and you can find out who we recommend to buy travel insurance from. So you're going to help Costa Rica with your COVID test and your insurance, okay? And even if you don't buy your insurance from them, at least if you have insurance, you won't be a burden on society when you do get sick and need medical care.
Right.
Because your insurance is going to cover that, okay? So, but become a resident, bottom line, okay? So I hope that answers your question. And Itzalin, I think, said that, but I'm not sure.
You know, they're not necessarily making it difficult. The stamp out, the visa, renew your visa. They're just making it inconvenient. So you can imagine if there was no inconvenience of having to leave the country every 90 days, people may just continue to stay as a perpetual tourist, never putting into the Caja system, you know, never getting your driver's license, you know, so.
Okay, and now MV has a really good question. It says, well, if I become a resident because of the pensionata, I'm retired, then how do I determine, or how do I know how much Caja is going to charge me? And that's a good question, because you won't know until that time. Because once you are approved, the very next step, you get notified that you've been approved of your application. They've accepted your paperwork. They've verified that you don't have any problems with your FBI check. Then at that point, you will have to have an appointment with the Caja or health officials. And at that point, they'll sit down with them. And it's different for every location. And they're going to ask you questions. And based on your residency status, okay, your pensionata, okay, that's going to be whatever percentage based on where you live. That's going to be that percentage and a couple of other factors, okay? So, but as a norm, as an average, if your pensionata, once you're at that point, then they will say your Caja payments are going to be so much. Now, the most expensive one is a rentista, okay? For your pensionatas, retirees, you're spending $40, $70 a month. It's very cheap. However, for Rebecca and I, it could be very high, and it could be $300 or $400 a month. And so at that point, you will talk with the Caja official, and you'll say, look, there's just no way I can afford that much money, you know, blah, blah, you know. And at that time, they will go back and forth and say, okay, this is how much you have to pay, leave it or take it, or, you know. So I can't tell you exactly. You will know how much it is, and at that point, be able to talk with them and say, okay, this is what I can afford or can't afford, and then you have to decide whether you're going to pay it, become a resident, or leave, okay? Or continue as a perpetual tourist, which is a pain. So I hope that answered your question, MV, okay? Now, and of course, someone says, well, how does all this affect expats who want to come into the country in July? I did cover that already. Crystal, and that means, hey, when you come in, regardless of when you come into the country, just come in as a regular tourist for as many days as you want. Keep in mind that when you do come in, if you decide that you're going to be here for 90 days, your travel insurance must be for 90 days. You can't say, well, I'm coming in for 90 days and I'm only buying travel insurance for 2 weeks. Ain't going to happen. When you stamp in, they'll only give you 2 weeks, 14 days to be in the country. So it's important you know that. So I hope that answered your question, Crystal, okay?
Yeah, so basically these new rules aren't actually new. They're just let's see, how is that? They're no longer suspending the rule for the COVID, for the pandemic time. They've lifted the suspension, so it's back to the regular rules of after your visa stamp has expired, whether it was for 10 days, 14 days, 90 days, you have to leave the country.
Yeah.
Right now, the land borders are closed. So you have to leave by air or boat, but we haven't figured out how to. We've heard a few people talk about that by boat, but we're not familiar with that.
Yeah. Now, a question from Stephen says, will the apostle process use your birth certificates and marriage license that I have already, or will I need to get new ones when I start the process? And that's a very good question. You want to be sure to talk to your attorney on that, because there are some time frames on that. You know, once we had ours apostled, for some reason there was a problem with mine, and one of them expired because it was like over 60 days from the time it was apostled and all of that. So while you do want to go ahead and get your birth certificate, you know, a certified copy, a certified marriage license ready, all of that ahead of time, you don't want to get it apostled ahead of time until you're ready to submit the application, because when you submit the application, there's this clock that starts ticking, and you want to make sure that all of that stuff is apostled within that time frame. So I hope that answers your question, okay? And so son asked, well, if you have a disabled child or an adult, you know, would that $200,000 investment be included for that person per family? And yes, you know, if you have a child, it really doesn't matter whether they're disabled or not, from my understanding, right? So if, you know, like Rebecca, yeah, you know, as long as they're a dependent, you know, like Rebecca, she married this poor crazy gringo right here, and I've been trying to get enough people to certify a check, but they would still allow me in if I deposited $200,000 on a house, okay, or some, whatever. Property, yeah. So it really, you know, if you have some sort of medical issue or reasoning, as long as that is a verifiable dependent that you are taking care of, then from my understanding, yes, they would qualify to become a resident as well for that same $200,000, okay? Right. I'm going to go through some of these questions here. Now, okay, you know, Dio asked a good question. What is the minimum property purchase to automatically become a resident? And that's the key thing, is nothing is automatic, okay? Nothing is automatic. So in Costa Rica, if you want to become a resident, you have to apply. However, if you want to become a resident in the investors category, at that point, the minimum is a $200,000 purchase in an investment category. It could be a home, it could be a $200,000 car, it could be, you know, a business, several things, okay? But you have to have invested $200,000 into Costa Rica to apply to become a resident, okay? Yeah. But nothing is automatic.
I see Kelly asked if an attorney will help you through the process. And we mentioned that, I think, on the first video, that we have people in the forum that are ready to assist with that. And yes, attorneys specialize in residency. And so the whole process, because it can be very confusing, and the laws change, the rules change
constantly. Yeah, now, and so let me give a quick shout out, because we do have an attorney who is working with ours, because just real quick, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we started our residency process. The people we hired messed it all up. They obviously were learning, didn't know what they were doing. We thought we lost that whole thing. And so the attorney that's helping us now was able to actually get it reactivated 4 years later. And so we have an appointment sometime in July to go to immigrations. And at that point, I am praying and believing we will be awarded our residency and will be done with that process. So it would behoove you, and it's highly advisable to join our forum so that you can talk to our attorney and our residency specialist, so they can help walk you through that residency process, okay? So that is very, very important. And look, real quick shout out. I want to thank everybody, because there was a lot of people who donated, you know, and just to show their appreciation for all this information, because we work really hard to make sure we give you accurate information. And so a lot of people have donated. If you want to donate, real simple, real easy. You just go down there to the comment section, and in the comment section, you can see a $sign. If you click on that $sign, you can donate as much as you want, and we greatly, greatly appreciate it. But we also want to say thank you to the people who joined the forum, because people joined the forum, and when they join the forum, while there's a lot of areas that's free, you can choose to join as a premium member, $10 a month, 33 cents a day, okay? And that $10 a month helps us greatly to do what we're doing. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, okay? And so let me go to the next question. Okay, so we do have people that will help you. Okay, and so Triplette says, well, what is happening with that proposed law, that we've talked about? That, and from my understanding, they've got this proposed law, great big incentive to go from 200,000 to 150,000 investment, not make you pay import fees on an automobile or your furnishings coming in. And from my understanding, they're still working on it. But like any government, the wheels of justice move slow. They got lots of things to work on. So from what I hear, they're still working on that. So I hope that answers your question, Triplette. Okay. Okay, so I'm passing through and I'm looking at these questions. As I look at these questions, if I haven't answered your question, please make sure to put your questions in there. And while I'm going through the questions, look, I see there's 91 people right now. Please take a moment to like our video. It does send a signal to YouTube that says that you like it. And I think right now, like there's 37 people have liked it. Hey, take a moment, hit like. I want to say thank you. That makes a huge difference, okay?
Someone is asking, don't you have to buy insurance before coming?
Yeah, I already answered that. And yeah, she's going to be here in a week. And yes, you do want to buy travel insurance, but don't make the mistake of buying your travel insurance from the ones they suggest in Costa Rica. It's very expensive. Go to our forum and get the people we recommend. You'll save a lot of money. Instead of paying $500, I paid $80 for my whole 90 days. And they even have cheaper plans. They have annual plans, okay? So you could do that. Okay, and I want to thank everybody who persevered with us and came back, because I know a lot of people I understand the audio was horrible and they said, I'm out of here. So I apologize, but hey, we can only work with what we have. Now, here's a great question from Milena, who says, are there any mandatory vaccines for adult residents? And at this moment in time, there are no mandatory vaccines. And what we've been reading, Costa Rica is not going to make the COVID vaccine mandatory, although, they're gonna suggest and they're gonna hope. But from right now, we didn't have to have any vaccines or any shots out of the norm to come to this country. Even though Costa Rica is technically a third world country or a more developing country, that's not a bad thing. They are constantly making huge strides, and they're developing and developing and developing, and it's getting better and better all the time. It's not like you're going to some country where it's very impoverished or poor, and the kids are sitting there starving to death. It's not like that at all, okay? So it's not like you got to have some weird shot or something of that nature, okay? Like that, yeah. So thank you very much, Craig, for your donation and your support. We greatly appreciate you taking time to support us, okay?
What I've read about the vaccine...
Craig just bought me a new apple juice, by the way.
Thank you, Craig. What I've read recently about the COVID vaccine requirement is that it is Costa Rica's desire to have its population vaccinated, but they're not going to mandate it. However, I did read that for the hospital staff, and I think that's all that I saw at this point was the medical staff, the hospital staff, that they are thinking about making it mandatory for hospital staff to be vaccinated.
Yeah. Okay. Now, here's another good question, because Doug says, well, hey, Alan, if I were to come down to San Isidro, how long is the drive from San Isidro to the Panamanian border if I wanted to do a visa run or stamp out if the border was open? And, normally we drive down there, it's typically about 3 hours, more or less, depending on the traffic. So it's really a pleasant drive. It normally takes us about an hour to go from here to Dominical, from Dominical to, Dominical, from here to,
where do you want to make the point?
Buenos Aires. We normally go from here to Buenos Aires. That's only an hour. And then from Buenos Aires down to San Vito, another hour and a half. And so usually 2.5 hours to 3 hours, we are at Sereno. And it's best to go out. It's Sereno? Mm-hmm. Sereno. Rio Sereno. Easiest place in the world to go do a border run. I never advise anybody to go down to Paso Canoas. very, very difficult to pass the Canoas. I go to Rio Sereno, very easy to do a border run down there, okay? However, another question that came in says, well, okay, Alan and Rebecca, do y'all have to stamp out before, or do you have to fly out by March 2nd? Well, fortunately for us, we started our residency program years ago. It's still in process. Thank goodness to the attorney that's helping us. And so we don't have to go because we do have an official appointment with immigrations, so we don't have to stamp out. Okay, but your attorney does have to provide documentation for you that shows you have an appointment in the event you get stopped by one of the very many police checks who check to see if you are legal. Because in the past, they have found people through the police stops, found out that they were inside Costa Rica past their visa date, and then they deported them out of the country. And it's not fun being in handcuffs and sitting in a jail until a plane ticket is a plane trip is arranged for you to leave. So that's important to know.
Right, and you know, we talked earlier about like having to leave your animals behind. You know, if you get detained for deportation, I'm not sure that they'll let you go back and do anything like get somebody,
Yeah.
Put your animals on a plane and stuff. You could get somebody to help you with that, but that's a big chance to take. And you know, you think about some people say, well, I won't do anything wrong. I'm not going to break any laws. I'm just going to stay put, you know, keep a low profile. So if you do keep a low profile, the chances of running into the law, and you know you're not doing anything wrong, the chances of running into the law are very slim. However, if you want to drive anywhere, to the grocery, go to a restaurant, go down to the beach, if you have to, not even if you drive, but if you take the bus, or I don't think they would stop taxis.
Well,
but,
no, well, they might stop a taxi,
they might stop
because
a
they
taxi.
stop a whole bus.
Yeah, I'm going the long way of explaining this, but the thing is, even if you do nothing wrong, you could still be stopped by the police because road checks, road blocks.
They have road checks
all over the place. You know, they will just do a random roadblock and check every single driver. They're not just checking for your visa to see if you're in the country legally or illegally, but they're checking for...
They're checking to see that you have a valid driver's license and it's not expired. They're checking to make sure you didn't go to the border and buy 10 cases of alcohol that you're going to turn around and try to sell inside the country because you can get it so cheap in Panama, okay?
Yeah, they'll look inside of your vehicle, you know, make sure you're not smuggling anybody. They'll check the tags on your vehicle, make sure that the inspection is up to date. Those are all things that you could get fines for. And from what we're reading recently, you know, the news is saying don't take a chance because the fine for being over your visa, what do you call it? Your visa
The expiration date, yeah.
If you're over the expiration date, there's no longer just a fine. Now they can detain you and start the deportation process.
All right. So, you know, another question here that comes from Melania, well, is it possible to apply for temporary resident now? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You just need to contact an attorney who will then make an appointment with immigrations. Once they get that appointment and you have proof of that appointment, you can begin that temporary process. And what's important is that you do not have to be in the country to start that process. So, Melania, let's just say that you're home right now. I don't know where you're from. Let's just say that you're from Louisiana and you're my neighbor, and you say, well, you know, I want to go ahead and start the process because I know without a doubt I love Costa Rica. I visited before. I want to be there. Then, you know what? I want to start the process now. You can go inside our form, contact our attorney, and you can tell them, hey, I want to go ahead and start the process. And you can make that appointment. He'll give you everything that you need, talk to you, help you with that process. And that way, a lot of your stuff is done even before you get to Costa Rica. How awesome is that? Okay.
There are requirements that you have to live in the country for so many months out of the year. I think it's 7? Is it 7 months out of the year?
I can't remember how many months.
Yeah, don't hold us to that. I'd have to look at, but I'm remembering either 7 or 9 months out of the year. But that's not until you're approved, you know, so you can start the process definitely.
Absolutely.
And money, as we often say, money solves a multitude of issues. Hey, you know, if it's no problem to pay an attorney, and you know, you're still uncertain if you're going to choose to live in Costa Rica, if money's not a problem, then get your residency anyway. Start the process, and you can come and go as you please forever.
Absolutely. So, as we look here, the mosquito guy, he says, well, how much monthly income should I need to live well in Costa Rica? Now, and that's a good question, because that's different for everybody. We did do a video that said, can I live in Costa Rica on $1,000 a month? Yes, you can. But that may not be living well, and depends on your standards of living. Okay. Now, you know, someone asked me and they said, you know, I got a retirement income of $2,000. How could I expect life to be for me? Well, you know what, on $2,000, in my personal opinion, I think you can live like a king, because, you know, here's what I say. I tell a lot of people, if you had $200,000, okay, let's say that you won the lottery, you know, some unknown family member donated and died and gave you $200,000.
Sold your house and got $200,000.
That's right. You could easily buy a house in Costa Rica on $100,000, you know, decent house, but you can buy a nice house on $200,000, but anywhere between 100 and 150. Anyway, $200,000, you could buy a house and an automobile. And then your cost of living, because the most expensive part of your cost of living is going to be your food and it's going to be your mortgage. Well, if you've paid for your place, you don't have a mortgage, okay? And so now you could easily live just your food and the other stuff easy. If you already had a place to live, no rent, easy on $1,000. And in my opinion, live like a king, okay? We pay rent. Our rent is cheap. Won't be long we won't be paying rent. Got some exciting news coming to you real soon. I'm not telling you anything. It's a secret. Shh. Anyway, you could live like a king easy on $200,000 if you had to rent. But if you didn't have to rent, yeah, wow, so much better. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and you know, we can live easily on $1,000. That $1,000 a month, but that doesn't include us going out to eat as often as we do. Every time we go out to eat, or we have to take our pet to the vet, or you know, just a car repair, that is all coming out of our savings, the money that we're saving to buy our property. So while it can be done, you know, it's and some people live on even less than that. You know, we know some people that live on $750.
Okay. Melanie has a good point here. She says, well, I read somewhere that the residency process is suspended until April, isn't it? Well, no, the residency process is not suspended. They're doing it. However, the system is so backed up. So give me a moment here, because there's a noisy vehicle. Anyway, the residency process is so backed up because what Costa Rica is doing right now is working. Nobody wants to be forced to leave the country, and people are realizing, okay, it's time for me to man up, get my residency. So a lot of people are starting that process. So it's not stopped. It's just it is backing up the system.
Yeah.
So go ahead and as early as possible get your appointment, so that the sooner you get your appointment, the sooner, because it's going to take, you know, they say anywhere from, you know, 15 months to 2 years. It could be longer. It just really all depends on how backed up the system is, because you have to understand Costa Rica, you know, the hardest thing for me is the whole Pura Vida mentality. They enjoy life. They're not in a hurry. And hey, I wished I could do that. I'm just not wired that way. So she's been Pura Vida her whole life. It's driven me crazy, but I love her. Anyway, it's just life, okay? So it's something for you to know.
Yeah, and so that's why they're they're accepting if you just have an appointment to begin your residency process, because they are so backed up, such a backlog. But you can call and make an appointment. It's months out, you know.
Okay, hey, Sherry has a great question. She says, so I know there's different residency programs. I can be retired, I can be an investor, rentista. I can be several. Is there different benefits for either one of them depending on which one you apply for?
I don't think so.
No, there's not.
The
Once
same.
you become a resident, then the benefits are the same, okay? It's just that Costa Rica realizes that if you are retired, then you don't have as much money, so your Caja payments are not going to be nearly as much. If you are like Rebecca and I, and you're healthy, even though we don't probably won't use the healthcare system as much, it does cost more. But in Costa Rica, if you have more money, it costs you more. You have more disposable income, so Costa Rica is going to get more disposable income, from you. So anyway, excuse me. So I hope that answers your question, okay? So once you become a resident, the benefits are the same for everybody. And there's a lot of huge benefits. So let's talk about some of those benefits real quick. When you become a resident, you now can get a driver's license. Woohoo! No more stamping out of that border. I can drive with a Costa Rican driver's license, okay? Once I become a resident, I can now go in and I can get a cell phone plan at EC, because EC will not give you a cell phone plan unless you are a resident, or if you file and create a corporation inside Costa Rica. And that's a little bit of a hassle and costs you money. But if you're a resident, then you can go get a cell phone plan. And there's a lot of things that you can do, like loans and other things, when you become a resident, okay? So there's a lot of benefits of becoming a resident.
Main benefit to me is that they can't just make you leave the country or tell you that, you can only stay for a few days, or the maximum being 90 days, you've become a resident.
That's right. And
you can come and go as you please. You don't have to go through. And
becoming a resident means that you can now legally work in the country, although it's still very difficult. If you are on a perpetual tourist or a tourist visa and you get caught working, and there's a lot of people who are working as perpetual tourists, but all it takes is one tico or someone to get mad and report you, and then you will get deported for 10 years because you have been working in the country illegally. You don't want to do that. Now, someone mentioned here, yeah, you can get a cell phone plan, which is great to have as a resident. But if you're not a resident, you can buy a disposable phone or use your own from the United States, and you can buy a pay-as-you-go so that you can still have cell phone. And so I'm glad that you brought that up. I can't remember who brought that up. Yeah, that was Marcus. So Marcus, thank you very much for bringing that up. You can have a pay-as-you-go cell phone in Costa Rica as a tourist, and that's okay. But if you want to get a plan that has unlimited whatever, okay, you can't get a plan unless you're a resident, okay, or have that corporation, okay. All right, so I'm looking at all of your questions here. Please make sure you put your questions in here. Brian says, well, what about needing to be put into a nursing home as a resident? And look, I wish I could answer that question more intelligently, but we have been all over Costa Rica, and I've never seen a nursing home. I suppose maybe in San Jose they have nursing homes, but we live right inside a family environment, and they take care of their grandmother, who's extremely old. I think she's like 499 years old, and they take care of her. And so she's not in a nursing home.
I'm sure she'll appreciate that.
Hey, look, she still gets around for that age. That's pretty good. So, as far as nursing homes, that's not the norm in Costa Rica.
Yeah,
maybe
I think it's a cultural thing.
Yeah, maybe in more touristy areas, then they might have that. I don't know. Okay.
We do know elderly people who can't get around as well anymore, and every one of them, well, it's only 3 that I can think of right now, but they have hired ticos or ticas to help them. They have 24-hour care, or some just have a person go into their house and do a little cleaning and maybe help them.
Right.
So
now, a good point that Dale brought up is that while you cannot legally work in Costa Rica until you become a resident, and then it's still very difficult, okay? in the meantime, you can do what I'm doing, right? And what Rebecca does. Rebecca, she works for an accountant over in the United States, okay? Because Rebecca works for a company. She is an accountant. She's my accountant, okay?
I provide accounting services.
That's right. So she works for them. For me, I work for myself, and man, I'm a mean boss, but I work for myself. But I do website designs. I do all kind of stuff, okay? But I've been working online for years and years and years, which brings up a question that I've been wanting to ask all of you guys. And this is totally off topic, but since I'm talking about it, I want to ask you this question, okay? Some people have asked, they want to be able to know how to work online. They want to know how to make money online. And boy, if you go search Google right now, make money online, you can get scammed thousands upon thousands of dollars. And so I'm kind of curious. If I set up a program and if I said, okay, hey, I'll kind of start mentoring you and I'll start teaching you how to learn how to make money online. It's very possible. There's many, many, many ways to make money online. You name it, I have probably done it. Some ways are a lot easier than others. But if I were, not saying I will, but if I were to set up a program teaching you those skills, is that something you would be interested in? If that's something you'd be interested in, hey, just put a great big old thumbs up and a like right now in the comments. Thumbs up and a like saying, yes, I would definitely like to begin learning some online skills. That would be great. Just let me know. It gives me some feedback, okay? Now, Dirk here says, so if I decide to rent a house, do I still have the possibility to start the residency process? Oh, absolutely. Because we've been renting forever. And if you're renting over there, great. If you're renting in Costa Rica, go ahead and start your residency process. It's no problem, okay? The problem is you rent a house, you buy all this furniture, and you are a perpetual tourist. And for some reason, the guy that stamps you back in is woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And he says, I'm only letting you in for 3 days, and you got to go back out again, okay?
Yeah. And not just that, not just that your ability to remain in Costa Rica is in the hands of an immigration officer, but also with the way that things are in the world, this may not be the only pandemic that will happen. Hopefully nothing like this will happen again, but something could happen again, and if you're a resident, you'll be protected from that. You'll be able to come and go, provided the borders are open. But we know people that have a business here, and when the pandemic hit, they happened to be back in their home country in Europe visiting family, and when the pandemic hit, they were not allowed to come back into Costa Rica because all the borders were closed. So their business was on hold.
Yeah, it's just suspended for a while, okay? Now, here's a great question. The Mosquito Guy says, now, if I move to Costa Rica on a tourist visa, and I stamp out every 90 days, okay, what taxes will Costa Rica collect from me? Well, at the moment, the only thing Costa Rica is going to get from you is that every time you stamp out, there's a $7 exit fee. That's nothing. And nothing else, except when you buy groceries and stuff, right? So they won't collect anything else from you. Sales tax, obviously. However, that's the reason you now become a burden to Costa Rica. Because if you get sick, right, and you use the medical facilities, hopefully you can pay for them. But if you don't, they're not collecting anything. And while you may be spending your money here, they just don't want you to become a burden, and they want you to pay Caja.
Well,
so
at the moment, you're required to have travel insurance.
Oh, yeah, you'd have to have travel insurance. That would cover.
We don't know how long they're going to keep requiring that.
So anyway, if you were to move here and be a perpetual tourist, no, they won't collect anything from you other than when you stamp out every 90 days at $7. Now, Doug, I am glad. Doug is very, very helpful, because Doug I don't know if he's in Costa Rica right now, but he does live in Costa Rica. I think he's back home in Canada. But Doug said that his builder's father was in a nursing home in the San Jose area before he passed away, and he passed away 2 years ago. So that tells me that obviously there are some nursing homes in the San Jose area. Now, we have been all over the place. I've never seen a nursing home. Matter of fact, never even seen any daycare centers except for one in the Rebas area, okay? It's just not common. But San Jose does have a lot of stuff that I don't know about, because even though we go to San Jose, we don't spend a lot of time in that area. So Doug, thank you so much for that, because we try very hard to give you accurate information, and you know, that's what we do. So anyway, thank you so much for that, Doug. That's a good question. Marcus says, well, what if I can't afford the $7? Do I have to stay forever? They'll just deport you, that's all. So no problem. So Ski says, hey guys, planning on flying in on the 20th of March, looking for a rental in your area. It's our first time to Costa Rica, and we've sold everything, and we're heading your way. Man, that is awesome, Ski. So, and you know, you can find rentals in this area right here. And hey, consider, since you're selling everything and it sounds like you know you're going to stay, you might want to start that residency process before you come. Get all of that paperwork ahead of time, which is, you know, getting a certified copy of that marriage license, birth certificate, and that kind of, you know, that's the only thing that I can think of, okay?
We have some resources in the forum. We have a PDF that lists several websites that show houses that are available for rent. There's one website that specializes in what's for rent in this area, Parazeladon.
Yeah. Now, Brian says, you know, could you discuss doing your taxes down there? And that's a good point, because, you know, today with everything being online, when we submit our taxes, we do everything online. Of course, my wife is an accountant. She takes care of the majority of it, but we still submit online so that we can, you know, do what we got to do as far as the IRS is concerned. Of course, I never get back a refund, but hey, that's part of life. But, you know, we submit our taxes online. So you won't have any problem taking care of your taxes and getting your refunds online. And with today's technology, you probably won't get your refund check here, although you could. The best thing to do is have that refund check mailed to a family member of the United States, have them take a picture of it, and then when they send you the picture, then you can take a picture of the picture and deposit it into your bank account via, you know, a lot of cell phones. You can deposit by taking a photo of the front and back of your check, okay?
Mobile deposit.
Yeah, mobile deposits. Okay. And good question, because Where Carrying Sign says, hey, is there a minimum to qualify for a pensionata, for retirement? Yes, the minimum is $1,000 a month to apply for that category.
Right. And all these things are what's known now. You know, they may be making changes in the future, so always look that stuff up.
Yeah. And Melanie says, you know, thank you greatly. Appreciate it. You know, does Costa Rica require a test to enter? No, you don't. At the moment in time, Costa Rica is not requiring you to have a test, but they are requiring you to fill out the health pass, which is really confusing because their website doesn't work properly. But I did do a video showing step by step where I filled out the health pass myself, and I showed you the tips and pointers where things weren't working. Make sure to watch that video, okay?
Right. And they require the health insurance, I mean the travel insurance.
Yeah, you do have to have the travel insurance.
Yeah, and they will take your temperature. Did they take your temperature when you pass through?
Yep, everybody takes the temperature when you pass through. And, you know, also the important thing is that, you know, you got to have, you know, everybody's got to wear a mask. And for whatever reason, they didn't like my mask. So, and I mentioned this the last time, you know, most people are wearing a regular medical type mask, or they have the cloth mask. And of course I had this mask right here, which is way more comfortable to me. And even though Costa Rica says that you can have a cloth mask, they didn't like this mask. And they made me take it off and get a regular mask before I could come in to Costa Rica. So, hey, it ain't no big deal. I'm a guest. Give me a medical mask, I'll put it on, okay? But most places I go to, I can wear this. However, I go to the bank, they say, nope, you can't wear this. I go to Walmart, nope, you gotta have a regular mask. I don't know how this is any different than a regular cloth mask, but that's okay. I'm a guest, I'll follow your rules, and I'll be happy to do that, okay?
To the person, I can't remember who asked, but the person that asked if Costa Rica required a COVID test to come into the country, the answer is no, but a lot of countries require it to return. For example, the United States, as of January 26th, you have to have a COVID test to enter the United States. So anybody coming to Costa Rica for a vacation or whatever extended stay, when you want to go back to the United States, you'll have to have a COVID test done in Costa Rica in order to get on the plane to return to your country. Not all countries. Mexico is not requiring. It's the only one I can think of at the moment. But
So
something to consider.
now BB asked a good question. BB says, are there successful American businesses in the area that you're in? Now, we've been all over Costa Rica, and this is my take on that. If not just an American, if there are foreigners who come into Costa Rica and develop a business, if they build a good business, how can I put this? With a spirit of excellence. There are many, almost every gringo that comes in here and develops a business, it takes off. So if you are an entrepreneur and you want to have a business, yes, we know a lot of American, Canadian, Switzerland, a lot of gringos who come here, start a business, and they're doing absolutely phenomenal. So if you're an entrepreneur, you can make some big money, okay?
Yeah.
That's
Remember,
my input.
Yeah, there are requirements by Costa Rica that you can't work in your own business. You can run it, but you can't do the labor. You have to hire Costa Ricans. It's very intricate and hard to understand, but there's lots of information out on the internet. And I wanted to say, if you're looking stuff up on the internet, pay attention to the date of the articles. Because the information is changing continually.
All the time.
So if you look at an article that was written back in 2010, it's not necessarily true anymore. It's not relevant anymore.
Okay, and here's a good question that MV says, well, is it common for Americans to pay into Caja as well as their own American health care if they're splitting time between the two? And yeah, that is very common. Now, a lot of people have asked, and someone asked earlier, and I think I missed that question. Well, can I opt out of paying the health care? No, you cannot opt out of paying health care. It doesn't matter how much insurance you have in another country. If you're going to be in this country, you're going to pay Caja in this country. That's all it is to it, okay?
Even if you had an international health insurance policy that would cover you in Costa Rica, you're still required to put into the system.
Yeah, so it's important. Costa Rica wants to know that, yes, you're paying into the health insurance, you're paying into the system, and they're going to take care of you, okay?
Yeah, because how would they know if you didn't cancel your own policy or whatever, so.
Yeah, so.
I knew a Canadian couple that when he got sick, they did some things here in Costa Rica and it was covered, but they went back to Canada for his cancer treatments because it was completely covered. In Canada, it's the benefits, the health benefits are universal health care.
Doug also commented, he says, which is a good point, because I talked about how if you're an entrepreneur, there's lots of ways to make money here. And he says, well, maybe nursing homes would be a good startup business in expat communities. Absolutely. In expat communities, I think if someone was to have nursing homes, that could be big business for you, okay? If you was in an area that had enough expats, okay? So that could be something that's possible.
We find that a lot of expats go home to their families.
You're right.
They don't, there are some that remain in Costa Rica, but I think probably the majority of the people that we've met, when they get sick and maybe need that type of care, they actually go home.
Yeah.
They go to be with their kids.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we have seen a whole lot of people who, when we came here, man, I talked to everybody and people who, we're here for 20 years, and what we found out, it seemed like a lot of people came here in 1999. In other words, they was afraid of the Y2K. It was that whole scare that man, it's going to be 2000 and the computers aren't going to know what to do. The plane's going to fall out of the sky because it's 200. The computers won't know what to do.
I can survive in Costa Rica.
But I'll live in Costa Rica. So a lot of people came here during the Y2K, and then after 20 years of getting old, now they're in their 70s and 80s, and they've decided to go back to their families. And so that's why there is just tons and tons of properties right now. And so that's why the real estate prices have just dropped. The bottom is falling out, and you can get some really great prices at rock bottom prices. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
Now, Marcus asked, does Costa Rica have anything similar to Canada's NOC codes for immigration, where you work increases your score for administration? And not that I know of, Marcus. I don't even know what you're talking about, but as far as I know, they don't have anything that increases, you know, what you submit your application for residency, and they look at that, and if they accept your applications and everything passes, then you're in, okay?
And you can apply for a work visa.
You know, that's a good point, Rebecca. You can apply for a work visa, but they do have a new visa. It's not passed yet, but they have a new visa called the Digital Nomad Visa, which means if you're a digital nomad like Rebecca and I, you can apply for this digital nomad. I don't know how long it lasts, if it's a year or more.
I think a year is what I read.
You know, but you apply for that. It's, I don't know, $300 or $400, and then you can stay in the country for a whole year without that whole hassle of going back and forth to the border, okay? So anyway, but it hasn't been approved yet, and the attorney we spoke to said that she thought it would be approved toward the last half of this year. Just something to think about, okay?
Something to keep checking on for sure.
That's right. Now, Ski asked a good question. It says, hey, are you guys doing a shuttle service from San Jose to your area? And no, we don't at this time. You know, we really don't do anything, and we don't get any benefits for promoting or educating people about Costa Rica. We simply do it because we enjoy sharing our information, and eventually we make a few bucks off of Costa Rica from the ads. And you know, we really
off of Costa Rica.
I mean, we make a few bucks off of YouTube ads, you know, on our channel. And, you know, your support is what we really make money off of, really, is your support. You know, your support helps us whenever we go out and do a video, and we study and we spend money to go out. Whenever I buy equipment, I buy a new camera. Your support is what pays for all of that stuff. So, you know, whenever you click on that $ and you give us a few bucks, hey, those few bucks all add up, and we greatly appreciate it. So we don't have a shuttle in it. We're not independently wealthy, is what I want to say. I'm not some rich gringo. Wished I was. Nothing wrong with being rich, okay? But we're not rich gringos. We just love living in paradise, okay? So I hope that helps.
Yeah, we kind of just took a leap of faith.
Now, you know, Kelly asked a really great question. Would you recommend moving your money to a Costa Rican bank or keep it in the United States? And you know what? That's kind of that's a good question. I wonder, you know,
Well, what we've done is we've kept ours in the United States. We have a corporation here. We have checking accounts, Costa Rican checking accounts. But when we get paid, you know, we're not earning money in Costa Rica. We're earning money on the internet, and it goes into United States bank accounts. And we've not had any problem with that. We've used both.
Yeah, you know, to make it easy, it's really easy just to keep your money in the United States. Use your ATM card, withdraw your money. It's really easy. I do have a Costa Rican bank account because it makes it very easy for me to pay all of my stuff. But, you know, one of the things that I like a whole lot is especially because I just don't know it all. But I love to come right here to Rudy's Ulterior restaurant because Rudy is a super good guy. He speaks a lot of great English. And, you know, if I have questions, I'll be like, hey, Rudy, would you take a look at this thing right here for me? And he's like, dude, you just got gringoed. You know, so I'm like, dang, again? You know, so Rudy gives me some great advice. So not only is his food good, he gives me great advice. So, you know, it's great to talk with the right Ticos who actually want to help you for the right reasons. So anyway, that's just my point on that, okay? And I agree, it is time for another apple juice. That's funny. I can't repeat what Doug said here, but it is true. He says, I am surprised that Canada's not doing... Anyway, you can look at that. It's true. Anyway, so lots of great comments. And hey, I want to thank you very much. Thank you, Chef Danielle, for your donation, and everybody who's donated. Thank you very, very much for your support. Hey, wow, there is 102 people live right now. Take a moment to please hit that like button. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. It helps us tremendously, okay? Hey, Lori says, it's my first time here. Well, welcome. I hope you're having a phenomenal time. Ski says, Steve says he's going to buy you a good supply of apple juice. Hey, Lori, Steve says you're buying. I can't wait. So I greatly appreciate all of your help. Okay. Janice says, hey, 1,000 is per person, not couple. Is that correct? No. When you're becoming a retirement, that's only that's a couple. So let's say if Rebecca was 300 years old and I'm 400 years old and we're retired, I only have to show my one check. And if I show my one check, we both can now become residents of Costa Rica.
Right, because I would be under your residence.
That's right. She would fall underneath my resident, okay?
Children, spouses fall underneath your the
That's
category
right.
of dependents.
Right. So now Hippocratic has a question. Can you compare the Peres-Zeledon area to the Antennas area? You know, I really wished I could. The only thing that I could tell you, because we've not spent a lot of time in the Antennas area, but what I do know about that area is that it does have a lot of expats because it's close to the San Jose area. It is beautiful country. I understand the elevation is kind of similar to the elevation here, but I have not spent a lot of time in that area, okay? Now, my opinion is that because it does have a lot of expats, because it does have a lot of tourists, then the cost of living is more expensive than the Peres-Zeledon area. Because in the Peres-Zeledon area, there is very little tourist stuff. While you can go and find these secret waterfalls, and you can, and things like that, the only big tourist thing here is Mount Charapo. And Mount Charapo is the highest point in Costa Rica that you can go and hike and have a lot of fun and enjoy hiking that. Which brings up another question I would love to know. So, Rebecca and I have been discussing if we were to put together a tour. In other words, you're an expat tour. I want to check out Costa Rica tour. If we were to put together a package and we arranged everything to where we would pick you up at the airport, and then we would arrange every single step along the way and say, okay, we picked you up at the airport, we spending the night, we're eating breakfast, and we're going to check out this waterfall. Maybe we do a whole waterfall tour, but while you're there, we're educating you about different areas. Is that something you would enjoy? If it is, give me 2 thumbs up and a like inside the chat box that you would be interested in buying a package like that where we would take you out.
Yeah, we've had a few people ask for help with finding a rental. You know, that's something we've considered maybe doing as a package as well, where you could, you know, get with us. We maybe help you go around, look at some houses that are for sale or for rent. You know, give us your feedback.
Yeah, you know, we have not done anything to try to make money off of this channel.
And there are people already in the country that do services like that, so it's not like there's no one doing that.
Right. I mean, there's plenty of people that do that and that provide tours, you know. I mean, we're very busy doing what we're doing, and we came here just to kind of enjoy nature. But I think it would be kind of fun to have 2 or 3 couples and take them out and go, you know. it would be a vacation for us. I mean, it would just be phenomenal to have fun, to take you out on a waterfall tour or something like that. You know, the only thing that we have actually done is, the only thing that we've actually done to try to make money is create the forum and offer a premium membership so that, because it does cost money to host it on websites and all of that stuff, okay? So we're not working hard to make money off this channel. We hope it does, but hey, we greatly appreciate your support, okay? So if that's something that would be interesting, you would love for us to put together a tour, and you're like, yes, sign me up. Well, let me know if you're interested in that. Hey, I'll put together something, and hey, we might go on a waterfall tour and check out some hidden waterfalls, okay? Yeah, hey, look, Brian says, yeah, we could take a bike ride too. Absolutely, okay? All right, so it looks like a lot of people would love that idea, Rebecca. We might have to put together a tour.
Yeah,
okay?
that would be fun, I think.
It would be fun, wouldn't it? Kelly says, I just want to see a happy little sloth. Well, we can definitely take you to where the sloths are. You know, that was probably my most favorite time. We was in Coweta living at a house, and we could sit out on the porch and we would see monkeys every single day. And occasionally, pretty often, I could see the sloth out there. And it was just so fun because that sloth would be up in the tree, and then I would whistle, and I would holler at the sloth. I'd go, I'd whistle, and that sloth would go. So that sloth would look right back at me. That was funny. And so anyway, yeah, it would be fun. So anyway, hey, thank you very much, BB, and the other people who have donated. We greatly appreciate it, okay? We're Carrying Sign says, antennas is close to big airports, Liberia, and San Jose. And you're right, yes, antennas, that's a good point that you brought up. Antennas is close to airports, okay? Whereas it's not so close. What are you laughing at? She laughing at me.
Pronunciation of the
Rebecca loves to laugh at my pronunciation, but I mess up the English language, man. I'm just a high-tech redneck, man. Give me a computer and I'm great.
Antennas. Okay.
Okay. So, hey, they got satellite antennas over there. That's why they call it antennas. Okay. So, all right. All right. Hey, thank you, Melanie. Melanie says, hey, I signed up for premium membership right now. Hey, Melanie, we greatly appreciate that. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great way to help us.
That's a great way to help us. It really is.
Hopefully it's giving, you know, we're giving back in the forum, and we are working on building that up.
Carlos says, hey guys, man, I'm from Chicago and originally from Chicago, originally from PZ. One day when I get back there, I'd love to meet you. Oh, well, so he must be in Chicago now, but he's from
Chicago.
Okay, hello from Chicago. Okay, hey.
So
hey,
you're a native of Paris,
yeah,
Illinois.
Carlos is a native from Paris. Hey, fantastic. You know, a lot of Ticos go to the United States and they can make a lot of money, while a lot of gringos are trying to get out of the rat race. So you got Ticos trying to get into the rat race, and you got gringos trying to get out of the rat race. That's funny, but that's good. And Kelly says, yes, I'll buy you an apple juice. Thank you, Kelly, for that apple juice. I greatly appreciate it.
They better start bringing you real apple juice.
So, all right. So, we've been going on now here for, let's see, it's already almost 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we've been going on for an hour and 15 minutes. And so, you know what? Hey, are there any questions here that you have? Because we should probably shut it down. My battery started dying, but I had my power bank today and was able to plug it up so that we didn't have to shut things down in a hurry. So is there anything here that you've got a question that's pressing and I've missed the question? Okay.
I see a question. Teresa asked, can we bring our pets over? And yes, you can. We came here with our little dog that was about 9 years old when we brought her over, and unfortunately she passed away here in Costa Rica. So but yeah, so we've known people who come here with their pets, even if they're just coming to check out the area, and you know, then they fly back with their pets.
That's right. You know, matter of fact, we have house set for several people because, you know, they'll go home and we take care of their pets for them. We don't house sit anymore because you know,
We have our own pets now.
We have our own pets, and we're putting down some roots. So anyway.
Yeah. But Teresa, there's a lot of regulations, I guess. It's not that it's difficult, but they are very particular. The airlines are particular, and Costa Rica is particular. And the last thing you would want, I know, is to arrive in Costa Rica with your pet and then have it detained and quarantined for lack of proper vaccination records and so forth. So you can find that information at the U.S. Embassy site for Costa Rica.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Hey, I want to say, a lot of people are saying thank you, and hey, you're welcome. We greatly appreciate, we really do enjoy spending time with you on Sunday and sharing our knowledge. We do a lot of work to really research. Matter of fact, Rebecca and I have a lot of debates. We watch video after video, and we do research because we'll watch a video and we'll do research to find out, if it's authentic information, because a lot of channels just... They're giving you hearsay information, so we will debate back and forth, and almost always I'm right, because as you know, I always say I'm never wrong, and I thought I was wrong one time, but I was only mistaken. However, guys, your wife is always right, so I don't know how that works. I'm never wrong, and she's always right. So anyway, we have some healthy debates on what actually happens, and in the process, we find out the legitimate information you need to know in order to come to Costa Rica.
Well, and what's so funny is we'll read the same thing or listen to the same thing and come away with two different understandings. So then we have to go back and forth with each other and say, no, I think it said this.
And then we go back and watch the video again. And then we'll pause the video and say, rewind, But we try to give you accurate information, okay?
Yeah, as accurate as we can. So we are not attorneys. We're not...
That's right. We're not realtors. We're not attorneys.
So,
I love to share these great finds that we find.
But we're not recommending those properties.
That's right.
We're just kind of showing you what's available. So
that's right.
We're just two people that sold everything and moved to Costa Rica.
Yes, like something crazy, but loved it. Okay. Now, yeah. Kelly says, is there a link in the forum for an airline that transport pets? At the moment, I don't have one. So if you do happen to find a airline that does transport pets and you know of one, hey, if you're in the forum, please share that so I can put that in there, okay? But we're constantly trying to make the forum better and better and better. And don't be afraid to interact with other people. Yeah. Ask them questions, say hello, talk to people. That's what the forum is for, okay?
But before we bought our tickets to come over, I had to go to each airline, or the ones that we were considering buying from. Let's say we went to American Airlines, AA.com. They have the information. It's very clear. Just find the section that talks about the requirements for pets, because they have cage sizes. They have regulations about, or rules about the size of a pet. Some airlines will not transport a pet over a certain weight. They also will not transport certain breeds. But if you do enough research, there are airlines, well, not commercial airlines, but there are people who will transfer your pet,
That's right. Now, there's a good question, and thank you, because there's several people that have donated. I greatly appreciate you donating and helping out, and because it is very important. There's a question here that says... Christopher says, can you live comfortably off of $1,500 a month? And we did talk about that a little bit earlier, but yes, Christopher, depending on your lifestyle, in actuality, Rebecca and I, maybe you can call me a tightwad if you want,
well,
but
we're saving.
We're saving as much money as we can toward our dream property, so we spend very little. In reality, Rebecca and I, we live on about $1,000, $1,100, $1,200 a month, and we really enjoy life. Now, we're living in a Tico-style house that only costs us $200 a month. Right. But you tell me, where in the world can you rent a 2-bedroom house on $200 a month? And I'm loving it, okay?
Right. We're in a nice location, and it's a very humble house, and we've had to do some improvements to it. We had to add things to it. But in the United States, I feel we could not live anywhere decent or safe for $200
That's right.
a month. So, you know, here, and then the electricity is very inexpensive because you don't need to use a whole lot. There's, you know, it's open air. You know,
Yeah.
you don't need heating and you don't need cooling.
That's right.
So it's you know, we're up in the mountains now. Most people need cooling if you live out on at the beach.
If you live at the beach, right? You know. Now, Renee says, well, what is the status of the Costa Rican legislature that's currently reviewing that proposed law? Did speak about that earlier. At the moment, they're still reviewing that proposed law. The wheels of justice move slow here, just like anywhere else. But from what I understand, Costa Rica is doing everything they can to incentivize and bring more gringos or foreigners to the country because they want you to become a resident, pay Caja. Your money will boost the economy, and they do realize that. So they are working on that. So I hope that answers your question, Renee. Okay.
You know, right now we're living on like $1,000 to $1,200. That's no frills. That's, you know, no extras. But we're also not paying Caja yet because
That's
our
right.
residency is not, you know, it's temporary right
Right.
now. But you know,
Well,
so that's
well,
something to
pause there a
consider.
moment. You said our residency is temporary. It's well, our Cajas are, from what we understand, our residency was approved. We're in the final stages, we hope. And once we go there, then they will make the appointment to start paying the residency. So we don't have temporary residency. We just have a golden ticket that says we're in process of applying for our residency. And that's what she meant to say.
Right.
You know?
So, but my point is that we're not paying the Caja yet. So let's say they tell us, you know, we don't know yet what our Caja is going to be. So that would increase our budget.
Right.
You know, because that would be a necessity. You know, you can do without going out to eat. You can do without having a pet. You can do without having a vehicle. But you'll have to pay the Caja. You have to buy food. You know, unless you grow every single thing that you
Right.
that
Now,
you eat.
Russell made just a good comment that I just have to share. Russell said, hey, look, I just got back from a 5-week visit. It was my first time, and it was just hard to leave an absolutely beautiful country. And yes, you know, I agree. While there are some things that I don't like because of my personality, it doesn't affect Rebecca near as much.
And then there are things that affect me that don't affect you.
Right.
I'm very soft-hearted, very kind-hearted. It breaks my heart every time I see a dog on a short leash. It just breaks my heart.
So there's things that you have to get used to. But yeah, you know, while there's things I may not like, the pros outweigh the cons every single day. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
And that's why we're still here.
We love nature. You can enjoy the outside in Costa Rica almost 365 days a year.
Yeah.
There's seldom a day that it rains the entire day. But
Now,
even during rainy season, it doesn't rain the whole day for the most part. I'd say there's maybe a month out of the year that it rains for a big part of the day.
That's right.
But it's still pleasant, you know?
That's right. You know, like Rebecca said, only maybe the last month of rainy season where it rains more than the norm, but you even still have most mornings that are not raining.
Yeah. And a big reason we say to come and check out the areas that you are considering living in is because there are lots of microclimates. It can be very, very cool depending on the altitude. Some areas, like it rains maybe 6 months out of the year. Another area it could be 3 months out of the year.
That's right.
Some areas is 9 months out of the year that they have a little shower every day. I like that, a little shower every day. Nothing wrong with an afternoon shower.
In the Rivas area where we're at, and we've been all over the place, but in most areas, it's 6 months of dry season, 6 months of rainy season. And right here where we're at, that's most of the, but it's 6 months, it's 6 and 6. However, in Paris, in the Rivas area where we're at right now, it's typically about 9 months of rainy season. But that's just a little bit of rain every day. And 3 months of the dry season. And that's because of the higher altitude. It's a lot cooler, you know. I mean, doggone it, I get up in the morning and I'm cold, you know. So it's a big difference. Like Rebecca said, microclimates all over. Yeah. Now, William said, well, did you guys go visit Costa Rica before you decided to move there? No, call me crazy. I've already said that.
That's why we advise you not to do that.
That's right.
Because we did it. And, you know, had we not had the ability that we were so blessed to have, which was to go around doing house sitting, you know, spending 3 months in an area, you know, 6 months in another area, we would have never known of all the different microclimates. And I discovered that I really liked the beach. I discovered that I like to look at the beach, but I don't want to live on the beach. I discovered that I really like the cool weather of the high altitudes. So,
Yeah.
you know,
So
we wouldn't have known that if we would have just come.
That's right. See, I mean, we kind of just sold everything and we jumped on a plane. I mean, Rebecca came up with this crazy idea, and as soon as she came up with this idea and I agreed, well, within 30 days of her saying, let's go to Costa Rica, we had sold everything, had 10 suitcases, and got on a plane.
And
I don't suggest that you do that, because we did that, I didn't know the first word of Spanish. I need to go to the bathroom. I don't know how. Didn't know nothing, okay?
Agua.
Yeah.
But, you know, money solves a multitude of issues if you got the funds to just move here and not buy something right away. But, you know, it costs to travel around. So if you can do that without ever going back to the United States, you know, sell all your stuff and come, then we did it. It's certainly possible to do.
Right.
But I just feel like you shouldn't buy something. I guess that's the main thing. There's nothing wrong with coming. Because you can always go back. Even if you sell everything and you come here intending to stay and find that it's not great for you, you can always go back. You'd have to start all over, but you can go back. But if you come here and sink $200,000 into a property and then decide that it's not really where you want to live and the house isn't what you thought that it was going to be, and 6 months out of the year the driveway is horrible, you can't get up it, you know, it's kind of hard to sell property, I think, in Costa Rica.
There's an overabundance of property,
right,
so
there's a large supply, you know, and so unless the demand just skyrockets more than, you know, it is growing, the demand is growing, but anyway, there's so much available.
Yeah. Now, Russell made a good point here, saying that driving in San Jose and some other areas there can be extremely challenging. Yes. Wait a minute. You said San Jose? Driving anywhere in Costa Rica can be challenging.
But especially San Jose, because they have, if you drive in San Jose, please be careful of these circles, okay? Waze will warn you that you're coming to a circle.
And they're called rotundas.
Rotundas, yes. And we have a couple in Louisiana, but you know, we have these laws in Louisiana that you only exit the rotunda, the traffic circle, from the right lane.
From the outside
from
lane?
The outside lane. Well, in Costa Rica, in those circles in San Jose, more than once, I don't know, maybe several times, people try to exit the circle from the inside lane and just cross in front of you. So it can be very scary. Go slowly. Don't assume that nobody's going to pull out in front of you.
That's right. Driving in Costa Rica can be a challenge. Now, you have to keep in mind, they don't have the years of experience that we have. And in some places, it's not uncommon that there's still a lot of people that are traveling in their town on horse. So a lot of people still park their car as if they're parking a horse. And they'll park that sucker in the middle of the street.
It's not that bad.
It's almost that bad. I mean, parking right there. So, you know, it is a challenge.
Not in San Jose.
Oh, not in San Jose.
People are used to that.
Yeah, in some of the smaller towns, it's not uncommon. They'll be parked, you know, practically in the middle of the road. And it's not uncommon for them to stop and be talking with one another. And you're right behind them trying to get somewhere. So it is a challenge. It's a lot. It's the Pura Vida mentality. It is a lot slower. It's a lot for you to get used to when coming to Costa Rica.
Stop worrying about it. Just
That's
wait.
right.
They'll be done in a moment.
That's right. Don't go home, gringo. So anyway,
let's see.
It's a lot of fun.
Russell says you can drive 20 miles for a completely different climate. It's great. You're very right. 20 miles, a little bit up the road from here. Tinamaste is cool. In the other direction towards San Jose in the mountain by La Georgina, restaurant, you'll be freezing.
Well,
you have to have your jacket.
Well, it's amazing because there are microclimates. You can be right here at Rudy's restaurant, and he's got this phenomenal view of all of this whole Parazeladon area, and you can actually see the microclimates. You can see it raining over here, and sun shining over here. So you can actually see all of these microclimates in effect from his restaurant. So yeah, it's amazing the difference in Costa Rica.
Yeah, the temperature changes though. It has to do with the altitude. And yeah, you could be at the beach, nice and, experiencing the heat and the sun, and then go just 45 minutes down the road and need your jacket.
That's right.
Up
Big
the road,
difference.
Up the road.
Hey, greatly appreciate, just a quick shout out to Doug. Doug is always very, very helpful inside our chats because he's got some experience and he's always helpful. He's also helpful inside the forum as well. And that's the whole reason we're building the forum, is because inside the forum, you can help one another and you can share and you can meet up and you can talk with people. So just thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it, okay? All right, it looks like... It looks like we have just about talked about it all here. And, the name of Rudy's restaurant is called Torre. And inside the forum, you can actually click on the Waze link. Matter of fact, I'm going to put the Waze link in the description below this video. When I get home, I'll update it, put the Waze link in the description. So with Waze, because, like a lot of the comments, a lot of places, 90% of the places in Costa Rica do not have street signs, and so you want to use Waze. Use the app Waze. It's the best app in the world, and it will help you get to where you need to go. And if you're in the forum or at this video, you can click on the link, and click on the link for Rudy's restaurant, which is called Torre. And if you click on that link, it will give you directions straight to his restaurant where you can enjoy a meal and you can get your first apple juice or your first drink on Rudy. So make sure that you check that out, okay?
Yeah. You have to tell him that Alan and Rebecca sent you, though.
That's right. The only way you're going to get that first drink free is say, hey, Alan and Rebecca from YouTube sent us here, so can we get that first drink free? All right, so, hey, I greatly appreciate all of your help. At this time, let me go ahead and shut it down because we have been going for an hour and 30 minutes, and we don't want to go too terribly long and burn you out, but we greatly, greatly appreciate all your help. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We greatly appreciate all of you. Thank you so, so much for your support. Anytime that you hit that $sign and you donate, we greatly, greatly do appreciate it. Thank you very much, folks. We will see you soon. We don't do a live every Sunday, but we do try to get a video out every Sunday. But we do greatly, greatly appreciate you. And if you have questions, always join the forum. We're always answering all the questions as quickly as possible in the forum. Once again, thank you very much. We can't wait to see you again next time.
Pura vida.